The longer I'm in ministry and I read the Gospels, I think about Jesus' radical hospitality. Think about all the people that Jesus encountered and dealt with. And I think you see that recurring theme throughout the Gospels. It was a radical hospitality that welcomed everyone as neighbor. And is that not what we're supposed to be about? That kind of welcoming and hospitable ministry. Did it move? See, it doesn't move.
It doesn't move there. It only.
So following Jesus' example, the church is called to reach to its neighbors as the church is supposed to be a living invitation. And you think about the invitations that you send out to parties and to other events. I think we're called to be living invitations that invite other people to come and share in Christ's love and experience that hospitality. So we welcome and include the neighbor in both word, by our words, and also by our actions, and in how we use our facilities. Are people going to get the message that we're here to serve and that our facilities are open for them to come? Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's two ways of looking at this. Think about a cabin. Think about the cabins that you've been to and you've shared some time with friends or family. You know, cabins are wonderful places when we want to take a holiday from the world. They're wonderful places of comfort and stability. I think about a cabin that my family went to for years at Montreat, and the feelings that I always have are cozy feelings because we were all there together. It was a wonderful experience. And you sort of hunker down with the people that you know and you love, and you isolate, in a sense, from the world. Are most of our churches cabins?
Yes.
Just something to think about. How many of you have hiked on the Appalachian Trail? You've probably seen something like this. There's many shelters on the trail for people who, in other words, see the world as their mission. They're buildings that are never quite closed off from the environment. They're open, they're more fluid. And they're for gathering with people you don't know in preparation to go out on the trail again. That's sort of a scary way sometimes to think about church, isn't it? But really, that's what we're supposed to be about. It's not hunkering down in our cabins, but being shelters where we come together and then we go out in mission. And I think thinking about those two concepts is very important when we start addressing these issues about facilities. What would you say about your church? Is your church more of a cabin, or is your church more of a shelter? And I'm going to end there, and I'm going to turn it over to Amanda Shumpert, who is our Director of Music and Congregational Ministries, to talk some about some partnerships that we've formed over the years.
So a few years ago when Calvary asked ourselves this question, we came to the conclusion that we were a little bit of both and, that we were a cabin and hopefully a space that people could come to and we could come to as our church family and feel safe. And if we needed to feel isolated, we could do that. We could feel enclosed and cared for. But that we really also wanted to make a significant step in becoming a shelter so that we could invite people in different and interesting ways, not always thinking about, will they join the church? How many children do they have? Are they young? All the things, right? So we've come to see partnerships in the community as a means of outreach and mission. And we are daily, weekly, hourly, constantly working on this. And we have a large building that several years ago we found was sitting empty a lot during the week. And in our attempt to be good stewards of this property that God has entrusted to us, we began to reach out to some of our neighbors and the wider community downtown to begin using it responsibly and to share what we have. The beginning of this process was around summer of 2015, and two opportunities came to us at the same time, unbeknownst to the other. Bookmarks opened right across the street, the indie bookstore that's downtown, and if you haven't been there, you totally should. It's fabulous. They opened across the street, and Piedmont Opera bought a house 2 doors down on Holly Avenue to serve as their offices. Lane was in contact with the head of Bookmarks, and I have strong connections to the folks over at the Opera from my education and work at UNCSA. So the start was a very simple invitation to both of them that if we could be of any help or partner in any way, just let us know and we'll see what we could do. Subsequently, we now offer rehearsal and concert space for the Opera. And now 5 years later, we are the home of the Winston-Salem Youth Chorus, who rehearses here 2 evenings a week in our sanctuary. We offer space for book and author talks with Bookmarks. We have one coming up the end of February. And we are a significant venue for the annual Bookmarks Festival that's downtown, and part of which is on Holly Avenue. We open our doors as often as is feasible to groups that are within our downtown footprint, but also that have connections with some of our membership. In turn, Calvary receives, Calvary and our ministries are promoted through a lot of their marketing ventures. We've hosted lots of concerts and talks, which invite a lot of people into our building that may otherwise not come to Calvary. And we've helped with receptions. We give Love Feast coffee and sugar cake and all the Moravian awesomeness that gives them both a little and a very literal taste of who we are as Moravians. We have guest musicians that come on Sunday mornings and at other services throughout the year, and often they will offer their services to us because we have been generous in at other times. So those initial conversations, we've created relationships with both of those organizations, but we're also fortunate to partner with Piedmont Wind Symphony, entities at Wake Forest, Leadership Winston-Salem, Music Carolina, Footnote Cafe, where your decaf coffee is from this evening, the YMCA, provincial groups that need space, and we had a huge Vacation Bible School combo with Centenary United Methodist Church this past summer because their building is under construction. So we had all the kids and all the people all over the building. It was awesome. And we're going to do it again. So it's good times. Another significant partner that we've created a very strong bond with is another congregation. Salem Presbyterian is an offshoot of Redeemer Presbyterian. They're relatively new. And Salem has chosen not to have a building. They are intentionally nomadic and without the constraints of overhead, which I think we'll hear a little bit more about later. Their partnership began with a simple ask of meeting in our space for 1 month during a summer, and because the church they had been meeting in was having construction. And so once that month was over, they enjoyed their time down here. They liked being downtown. They liked the size of our building, and it offered them a lot for their ministries. So it wasn't an easy or short road, but the long and short of it is they meet here every Sunday evening. So from 2 to 7, they do programming and worship every Sunday evening here, and we are their church home. We are compensated financially in some way from all of these partners. It is unrealistic that we could not ask them for some sort of financial arrangement given the massive cost of upkeep of our building. However, there are many intangible benefits as well. We're starting to kind of have a reputation of opening our building and opening our doors. Our staff and a lot of our members will make comments that when they're at meetings or they're at social functions out in the community, people will stop them and say, "Thank you so much, we were in your building, blah, blah, blah." And we are so grateful that you have opened and hosted any number of events. And those are it's great to hear. It has allowed us to no longer be a fortress downtown that's only open on Wednesdays and Sundays. This building is alive all the time, more than I think even our congregation knows. It is constant. And that has not been without growing pains. It's not been easy. We've had to adjust our schedules and our workload to maintain much of this momentum. We've had to get used to the fact that there are a lot more messes in our building, and some of them we didn't make. There are more consistent issues with our structure and our calendar schedule. We use all the rooms, so all the rooms have to be cleaned and maintained. There are logistics we've never had before. There are security issues we've never had before. And we continue daily to learn how to deal and confront those issues, along with making a significant cultural shift within our congregation. We're calling our members to minister to everyone that walks in this building through hospitality, engagement, and being neighbor. Our joint board, but particularly our board of trustees, have been incredible, absolutely incredible. They've been open-minded, they've questioned, they've taken risks and stepped outside their comfort zone. They've also been the ones to deal with all the issues that I mentioned above. Thanks. They've prayed about and for these ministries, and as a staff member, and I think I can speak on behalf of the other two that are here, that we can't tell you how important it is to have incredible joint boards, unified boards, and trustees and elders. I mean, you all are the absolute linchpin that makes these sort of ministries work. So we continue to try, and sometimes we win, and sometimes we relook at things. So I'll hand it over to Chaz.
So I am the newbie here at Calvary. I have only been, I accepted the call here after Easter of this year. And so I want to talk a little bit, so all of what Amanda talked about was pre-existing me arriving to Calvary. And so what I want to talk a bit about is a little bit of, I think, of potential future of partnership and facility stewardship, and then also some of just the challenges that I think we face in general in the church going into the future when it comes to sort of facilities and some of the things that we're kind of coming up against. And with that challenge, what the ultimate opportunity is. So the call that was extended to me was connected to the process of revisioning and partnership and experimentation and wanting to be a beacon in the downtown community. And so one of the things that was really exciting about that was exactly what Amanda kind of concluded on, the point of the vision and the support and desire for the elders, the trustees, the staff, the congregation of Calvary wanting to see itself as a partner in the community, as partnership in the community, both in its ministry, but also, as Amanda has mentioned, in its facilities. So as the building, the physical building being a big part of that. And one of the reasons why this is so important, why this conversation about facility stewardship is so important, is that because what we are experiencing, generally speaking, in the church right now, is that there is a changing, the economy of the church is changing and shifting. And I want to talk, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. So throughout church history, the church has funded itself in multiple different ways. Right now, the church mainly survives on the giving of a percentage of income of the membership that are there, right? That's how most of our churches are supported. There's other ways, but generally speaking, it's a percentage of the income, thank you, of the people who come. That's not how the church has always funded itself. There was an age in which the church was funded by patrons, by people who had lots of money who gifted it to the church, and that's what sustained the church. So the church has not always funded itself the same way throughout its history. So why am I making this point? I think we're experiencing a shift, that there is a new economy emerging within the church. The church is going to need to look at ways to fund itself differently than it used to. That the idea of relying on a percentage of the income of the people who show up on Sunday morning might not be a sustainable future. So why is this conversation important? This conversation is important because that new economy is emerging. We don't know what it's going to look like. It may be a mixed economy. And so the idea of figuring out how to take one of the biggest assets of most of our congregations, which is our physical building or the value of our physical building, and figuring out how to turn that into ministry and turn that into mission. And so I just wanted to sort of wrap up on that point of why this conversation is so valuable. In figuring out what that new economy is, what is going to fund the ministry and the mission of the future church is really important thing to think about. And the more creativity, the more innovation, the more creative ways that we embrace that new economy, realizing that turning our buildings into revenue generating assets are important, because relying on the giving of the people who show up on Sunday morning might not be the best way forward. Even if we get more people in the door, if you look at giving habits and giving trends, that trend is decreasing. So if we want to keep buildings and staffs and pay pastors' salaries, and believe me, I want to keep that, then we need to think of creative ways to make our physical buildings generate revenue for us. And think of that not as a negative, but as a positive, as embracing the future of the church, not as a negative part of losing something, but we have a future ahead of us.